All right, moving into this Founder Fireside Chat, I'm so excited for this one because you got two founders who not only built huge businesses. How many people in here want to exit their business someday? Yeah, somebody's like, I want to exit now. Well, there's incredible ways to do that along the way, and there's some journeys and stories that are going to help you figure out what you actually should and want to do. And that being said, please welcome our amazing Founder Fireside guests. It's like such a long walk that you should dance. Yeah. Thank you. Have a seat, guys. All right. So for people that don't know you, let's do a quick introduction. And not only because you have a incredible, I mean, look at the
well designed.
This design pickle. Yeah, it better be well designed, right? And also thank you for putting together the actual design notes for everybody. That's really cool. But outside of that, please introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me, Marcus. Appreciate to be here. My name is Russ Perry. I'm the founder and CEO of Design Pickle. So we have a booth in the back. You can learn more about what we do. But in a sense, we are a subscription, flat rate creative service. So you can get a part-time graphic designer, use any tool, whether it's generative tools, Adobe, Canva, Figma, and we help businesses grow by creating the content they need.
Incredible. Clate
Mask, co-founder of Keap. We do small business automation, marketing automation, sales automation, service operations automation, help you turn your SOPs into SAPs, standard automated procedures.
Oh, did you practice that? This is so good. It's like a rap song. I want to go back, all right? I want to go way back. I want to go back. One, I was a Infusionsoft employee as well. Yeah. And I remember way back in the day where I met you for the first time. And I want to talk about that because it was polarizing.
By the way, this is a little bit of a reunion here. We need to call this out. So Keap was formerly Infusionsoft. And we ran a big event called Icon.
Yes.
Marcus used to work for us, amazing member of our team. And we used to put on this little event called Icon.
Little is anybody been to Icon here? It was massive event. And the first time I met you was that you were full head to toe a pickle. And we were walking through I remember that, but talk me through that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, so this was our first year in business almost 10 years ago, and we launched in January 2015. I think this event was in August or late May that we were doing it, because it was really hot. I remember this.
Because you were in a pickle outfit.
Yeah, so, we were, and we were in Arizona. So I had an agency prior. We did a lot of trade show marketing, so that's kind of what I knew. And I was like, look, I'm gonna get out there. And I discovered the Infusionsoft event. But when you email event like 1 month before it happens, you learn that like everything's sold out, you can't do it. And eventually with one of the events managers, which I would love to find those emails, we negotiated 2 days of me handing out pickles in the cafeteria area.
So not only was he dressed like a pickle, he was physically handing out big pickles.
Now these were wrapped with marketing materials. There was some sense. So, as a creative person, I thought to myself, well, I'm not just gonna hand out pickles, I am going to be a pickle.
Yes.
And so I went and bought a costume, which we have plenty in the back if someone would like to take some pictures. And I eventually got a little Mexican ice cream cart, which you see around here with the bells and everything, spray painted it, and it was the biggest success ever. So out of pickles, everyone was going crazy. So much so I couldn't even talk about the company because I was just by myself sweating, handing out pickles the whole time.
Who's a sweaty pickle guy? I need to do business with him.
And I'm interested to hear Clate's perspective, but I will tell everybody, to this day, this is almost 10 years later, I still get sales from this activation. People saying, hey, I saw you this event. I finally signed up for Design Pickle. So it is by far the biggest ROI campaign we've ever done.
Well, and I got to tell you my perspective on this. So I'm, the CEO walking through the convention center. There's like 3,500 people at this event. And we're in the sort of the vendor expo area. And I walk in and it's like a small town. There's just all this stuff going on. But there's this pocket of hyperactivity going on over in the corner. And I'm like, what is that? What's going on? And then I see like the crowd part a little bit. And there's this pickle guy standing there. And I'm like, oh, I heard that there were pickles available. And so that's how I met Russ. Russ was the pickle and did an amazing job.
It's just, yeah. So let me ask you this question, Clay. So Icon, right? You put on an event, 3,500 people came.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it also attracted a lot of us early days, right? And kind of a part of our journey. I'd love to know what was intentional about that choice, because obviously we're doing an event here. I feel like you had a massive focus on community back in the day. So like, what was Icon doing that allowed essentially for us to insert ourselves into that story?
Yeah, it was bringing people together around a movement of automating their business, and specifically automating their marketing back then. And it took, I love this event because this feels like year 3 of our event. The first event we had like 35 people, and the next one we had like 80 people, and the next one we had a couple hundred people, and then it just started to take off. And so it was about 10 years in the works to get to where we had an event that big. But the thing that was at the center of that event was passionate people, passionate entrepreneurs who were automating their marketing, and then the really creative ones were starting to automate a bunch of their other areas of their business, which is why later we came around and said, well, let's make that easier for you and make it small business automation. So that's what it was, a bunch of people that were unified around the plight of entrepreneurs wanting to automate more and not do things so manually.
So from there, thank you for sharing that. From that point when you were just partying the seeds as a pickle, what was where were you in the stage of growth in the business? Because right now you guys we'll get into how much you've grown, but where were you then? Was that like the very beginning stages?
Yeah, we were 5 months old. I mean, it was such an early stage that I remember when I bought the pickle cart, which I kind of got tricked because the pickle cart guy, which there are those guys, he told me it was $50 for the pickle cart a couple weeks prior. So I show up to get the cart. It was $50 rental with $300 minimum purchase of ice cream. And so I was like in this panic mode. I'm supposed to go to the event. I'm like, well, I don't need $300 worth of Sonic the Hedgehog ice cream popsicles. What am I gonna do? And to purchase it was $600. And this was like a legitimate crisis for my mind and my budget. And I was like, look, if this design pickle thing doesn't work out, I'll just rent it on Craigslist. I'll make my money back and I'll be okay. But we were so young and so new, and I had no idea what was going on. And the event was a smashing success because we sold at the event probably 30 people that had signed up for it at the event. And it was one of the first lessons that I got, especially for event marketing and kind of any investment is you want to make sure that you can recoup those costs at least for what the investment was. But I found that being able to talk and in person, because at the time, there's a lot of competitors now, there was no way to do flat rate subscription design. So having a conversation like this, being able to connect with people, being able to talk to people in cartoon hands, which was weird, but that was something that I found was so critical to our early success rather than just an ad online or an email campaign or whatever.
I want to ask this question to both of you, and specifically around this, but it's very disruptive. It's very out there, right? And right now we're so inundated. I was saying this earlier in a different conversation we were having, but awareness is tough to earn with people. And through that stage, I look at, you're so intentional about every little detail, right? What is it that you're learning about what people pay attention to and how to get them out of whatever their zone is to get them to pay attention to what you're trying to say to them? How do you break through the noise? And I want to ask you the same question.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things to awareness. There's the initial moment of awareness, which you can do in many ways. You can be silly, you can dress up as a pickle, you can do something offensive. Like there's easy ways to be aware, and we see that a lot. The question and the challenge is how do you build trust after that point of awareness? And I think that's really the key for brands and for small businesses is, how do you do what you say you're going to do? Or how, after you've raised your hand and they're paying attention, you provide value. And that was always something that I knew that, we could be silly, we could be funny, and we've done a lot of weird stuff, guys. I'm telling you, there's like really, a whole archive of items. Watch out for National Pickle Day, which is November 14th. Of course, I'm sure you all know we got a big video dropping, but that's not the important part. The important part is making a connection, but then providing value to build that trust, which then turns awareness into clients.
You literally wrote a book about conquering chaos and also breaking through a lot of what people mentally, the noise that's in their brain. How did you do that as a brand, and what were you kind of offering that was different that maybe other, even SaaS companies were doing at the time?
Yeah, you talk about connection, and that's why that we did that event, to build up those connections. And Russ's company was a perfect example of one of the objectives we had for that event, was to enable people to come together, find the solutions to the problems that they had in their business, and shortcut the sometimes months or years even of work that it would take to find something to solve the problem. And so when we saw partners coming together and customers and partners being able to get connected to each other and find the solutions to problems, that was one of the big fulfillments for us in terms of putting on that conference. And I think that it was one of the key things we did as we grew the business very aggressively. And I think it was a big mistake when we chose to stop doing that conference.
I was going to ask you that. I've always wanted to ask you that, actually.
Yeah. There's things that happen along the way. As you
Give us the real story. Wait, what happened?
We had a board of directors, and we had a management team that kind of came in, and I sort of got pushed to the side, and they felt like that conference. When you look at the dollars and cents of conferences, they don't always pencil out in the moment, but they build tons of brand value. And I lost the argument on whether or not we should continue to do that. So, I can look back in hindsight, and I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but I will say that I think that was a strategic mistake that we made. And having that forum for people to come together. I love what Ezra said right at the beginning of his remarks. He said a lot of things, but he said something that I've seen to be true over and over and over. He said, the most valuable thing you're going to get at this conference is a connection you're making with somebody. It really is. There's something going on in your business that can be solved by something that's been already figured out by somebody else that's in this room. And when you come to a conference and you start to get connected, especially when it's around a common, a common belief and a common focus around systematizing your business, boy, there's some amazing things that are going to happen out of this event. I'm so excited for it and to see what happens.
It's amazing. Both of you guys are huge process guys. Like, actually, I know you're laughing at that, but actually, can we bring up the photo that you brought with us? I just wanted to show the audience some of these early. You sent this to me in an email, and I was like,
from the archives.
I was like, Russ, what is this? So talk us through this a little bit.
So guys, this was my first flow chart of my workflow for Design Pickle. And there's a couple, they're too crazy to look at, but Design Pickle started as just me and one creative contractor. And from that moment, I was always thinking about the big vision and the big process. So it's actually hard for me to see, but we have basically like what would happen when a client signs up, how would we manage the files. These are hand-drawn flow charts, which is really risky if you make a mistake. But this is how I built the business, even though if I was doing all of these steps, that's like what it was. And I've known Chris and Jonathan a long time, and I remember Chris coming to me when he was doing Organized Chaos and starting Trainual, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, because I had all of these literally written out. I wouldn't even have in Google Docs, and but that was a critical thing for our growth. Not that we had some crazy unsustainable growth, but it was just that from the beginning, I knew what I wanted to do and the intended output. So if that worked, great. And if it didn't, I could go back through those steps and adjust and tweak and modify it. And I think we were one of the first Trainual clients ever. Sad when we weren't the largest. I guess there's some big companies now that use it, but it's been essential from us from the very beginning.
Yeah, and you guys are still using Trainual all the time, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, all of our onboarding, different departmental items, our creative contractors go through training inside of it. It's a big monster right now. So
yeah, it's a little bit better than that, but
a little bit better.
But I feel like
I'm glad you have the flowchart tool now. This is great.
Yeah, it's a lot better. But I do think what's interesting is you meet a lot of founders, and you're a big whiteboarder. I know, and I literally watch the process of getting that out of your brain and onto something so that you can start to calculate it. But I feel like when I see this, there's probably about 1 million pages of notes you have the same, right?
Well, the crown jewel of our software is our automation builder. And the automation builder is essentially the way for people to flowchart it out and then actually automate what it is that they've flowcharted. So, yeah, I mean, that's speaking the language of our customers and partners and what we do. It's, I used to say all the time, if you can flowchart it, you can automate it. And a lot of people don't think in a process-oriented flowchart way, but once you start doing it, it's really pretty awesome. And our product sort of led people into that world. As you know, our customers and partners get into that automation builder and just go have a heyday with it.
Any other flowchart graphing people write things down, napkins, all that good stuff? All right, so we're in good company. I know we got one more, like a little bit more time, and I just want to make sure of this because I saw a bunch of hands out here from people who are like, I'm growing my business. Do I invest? Do I get investors? Like, how am I backing into an exit? And both of you have so uniquely navigated that in ways that I feel like maybe none of us will ever get to. But let's start here. I'll get to Clate because I'm very interested because we have a very recent big announcement for you. But talk to me about this. You guys raised a few years ago, right? You did an investment round?
Actually, it's a story of someone that Clate knows, a guy named Greg Head, who's a really prolific marketer and worked at Infusionsoft. And he and I were in an office probably 2018, 2019, and we were bootstrapped from the very beginning, but had a big vision and a lot of reasons why I wanted to grow. And I remember him sitting down, he's like, Russ, you got two paths. You can grow this business and have a nice lifestyle, or you can grow this business and change a lot of lives. And
pause right there real quick. What a big difference, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like lifestyle brands out there where it's totally fine, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but I think there is that caveat to be like, are we actually trying to impact people's lives? And that grows the team and that grows the vision, right?
Yeah, and so in that point, we went on the path to raise some capital, and it wasn't easy. We're kind of a weird monster of a business. We're like half software, half people. We fit no spreadsheets for investors of like who we are and what our metrics should be. But ultimately in 2022, we raised $25 million, and it's been essential for our growth since then. And really what we've used it mostly is to hire, to build our teams, to weather the economic storms that we've had over the last few years, and eventually, kind of like what Clate has recently experienced, is to exit and have that be an asset that we can sell with everything documented, everything there, and handing that off to someone to take it to the next level.
On that process side, though, people did pop the hood, right? When you're talking to investors who are going to put $25 million into the business, what were some of the due diligence pieces that they were trying to look at? I know you guys actually break the mold of business model, but like, was there very specific things that people here could start being like, I need to start paying attention to that?
I mean, the main one was obviously the financial due diligence. Like, if you don't have those books and everything dialed in, that can really hurt you. I think we were using EOS at the time, operating system. Sorry, Ryan, something we used. But, that was really important as well to show that the business operated in a predictable way. And then, yes, the documentation that we had in Trainual, absolutely. It was more like a flex than anything. You can't open up a Trainual like process for a ticket assignment and then being like, oh, this is a really good process for how you assign tickets. Like, they don't know it, but just to see it and see it there and have it was like, hey, we got something like legit. It's actually a real business and a real system.
And Clate, this is very recent news. I don't know if anybody knows this, but yeah, you want to share some of the news of what just happened?
Yeah, let me just say one thing real quick, because when you're bringing an investor into your business, you're really selling a part of your business. So whether you're raising capital or you're actually selling the business entirely, you are going through a similar process. And there's a lot of financial due diligence, but what they always want to see is that there's a business that's independent of the business owner. And that, therefore, creating the systems, creating the processes is crucial in the confidence of the buyer. Sometimes it will cause the valuation to go up, but always it will either cause the buyer to have confidence or not have confidence, depending on how you've systematized the business. So I think it's important for us to think about that, even if you're sitting there going, well, I'm never going to sell the business, I'm going to do this forever, or I don't ever want to take on investors. Are you creating a business that can be independent of you as the business owner? Because I can tell you that we have some of my favorite stories from customers are customers who have automated their processes, and when they unexpectedly got hospitalized for 6 weeks, their business ran great and they were perfectly fine. Their family was okay. I hear stories like that over and over and over of entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, we also know of many stories where when that business owner isn't there, the business does not work well, and it's a major risk for the business owner. So let me just say that, because that applies to everybody, whether you're going to raise capital from an investor or sell the business entirely. The premise is the same, that we want to have the business operate independently of the business owner. Now, you love the business, you want to be in the business. Most of you, sometimes you don't want to be so much, But keep that in mind because that principle is really what's at play here. So I know we don't have a lot of time, but we just announced a couple weeks ago that we merged with a company called Thrive. They're a public company, 300,000 small businesses. They've got 3,000 employees. And so us joining forces with them to drive the mission that we have to help small businesses succeed was a really big thing for us. For me, I've got 6 kids, all grown except for one that's a sophomore in high school, 7 grandkids, and I'm really looking forward to the next stage of life. So I get to be a consultant in the current business and not carry the mantle of CEO. By the way, it was very odd to introduce myself as the co-founder and not the co-founder and CEO.
That's the first time I've ever heard of it.
It's the first time I've introduced myself that way.
You know, I want to know a couple things, and maybe this is like a way that we'll bring this in, and I'm very excited to hear about an exit that you're excited about and what that means for your family. The one thing I want to know is about, like, if you're working toward an exit, and I'm actually going to ask you that to end, is if you guys are planning on what the future looks like for Design Pickle. But with you, what were some of the preparation moments? Like, what were the benchmark, big things that had to happen in order to get to a place where exit is even possible?
Yeah, so first of all, because we had raised capital 4 times, we'd had kind of these steps where we'd done that. And it's exactly what Russ described. You've got to get the financial house in order, and then you've got to get systems and processes because they come in and just do crazy due diligence on it, right? I was talking to an entrepreneur yesterday who's doing a business that's $4 million a year, wants to sell in 3 years. And I was telling her, look, right now, you need to start thinking about your advisory people that are going to help you in that process. There's either an attorney or an investment banker, business broker, sometimes they call themselves. But you got to start making the relationships with them so that they know where are the likely suitors for your business. And then you start building those relationships. So those are the external things. But internally, it's exactly what we're talking about here. It's systematizing the business.
And the future, if you had to just look out and see, with listening to people like Clate and seeing their stories and thinking about what you have for all your employees and the people that you impact, where are you going? What does that make you feel?
Yeah, so a few pages from this same journal is a vision that I had in 2014, 2015, and that is actually a software platform to manage the whole creative process with or without our creatives. I took a really roundabout way to get there, but what we're really working on for next year and ahead is, the way we do creativity and the way we manage that whole experience will eventually be a standalone platform itself, and whenever you need help, we're there. But we have completely systemized every part of creativity from, the workflows, the management, the approval, all the tools that usually sit everywhere else. And that's what gets me really excited, is to get that into other teams. It doesn't even have to be big teams or creative teams, but just like, it's such a pain in the butt right now to do that across all these different things. And so yeah, it's really exciting. We have a lot of big updates we've made for our API to use Design Pickle and other project management tools and Slacks, but I feel like we're just starting over again. It's like beginning.
Is that exciting for you?
It's super exciting, and our team has just been incredible. I mean, like, to have a team that are so much more talented than, Chris actually helped me build the first Design Pickle platform, and he had some engineers in the Czech Republic, and he did it. We're way better than that now. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate you. But like, it is now like, wow, there's a lot of adults in the room now. This is great.
All right, last thing, the same thing I said before, and then we're going to head to lunch. And by the way, if you guys are heading to lunch, you're going to hang around for lunch, right?
Marcus, I actually have a quick favor to fulfill something.
Yes.
A dream of mine. Clate, would you take a picture with me in pickle suits on this stage? I have 2 right here. This has become full circle. Is that a yes?
I will do that. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I did not know
While you guys are putting on your pickle suits, things I thought I'd never say. By the way, like, you do this a long time, and you're just sitting around. The one thing I will say is that, yeah, having you guys have had navigated that. How am I supposed to ask any other questions?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
All right.
You have a nice bow on yours. So
all right, listen, wait. There's one thing I want to do, okay? Very action-oriented. It's a very
should've known Russ would do
action-oriented,
something
very
like
serious
this.
conference where business people are trying to get a lot. I want you guys to give us a charge. I want to know what is the one quick thing that you can say to everybody that is going to be helping them to go like, hey, after this, do this. By the way, these pickles will be around during lunch, and I want to make sure that you guys are going to hang and people can meet you. But give us a quick charge, something quick, and then we'll take your picture.
I think creativity is going to be the most unique strategic advantage to businesses. As content becomes free or nearly free, the ideas themselves are what's going to be like differentiating. So be creative.
How can I possibly do this?
I think you can. Hey, this is your new life now.
That's right. I will say this. Entrepreneurship is an exercise in relinquishing control. You cannot relinquish that control if you don't put the systems and processes in place. But once you do, it's amazing.
If you got something from this, give these two pickles a huge round of applause, everybody. Thank you guys so much. All right, we'll get your picture. Everybody else, we're heading out to lunch right now. It's going to be out these big doors. Jade's waving her hands over there. Make sure you get some food. We're back in here after lunch with the People's Shark, Damon, John. Don't want to miss it. Go enjoy your lunch. We'll see you back here soon. Thanks, everybody.